Hello, here I am sitting in front of a bookcase full of words, awaiting a wonderful meeting with Amanda Gorman, who is also in love with words. I've been so looking forward to being able to talk with her, and we are going to choose our favorite five words that we are going to try to use more in 2021. Amanda, you make me feel so good about the future.
Well, it's such an honor to meet you. I mean, you're such an icon and a leader, and definitely someone who has used their pen in such a magical and, progressive way. So you're definitely one of those people that I always look up to. So this is a huge dream come true for me.
So, my first one is empathy.
Oh, I love that.
Somehow, I think that's the single most important quality, because it means we can feel what other people are feeling equally,
Mm,
not to our exclusion, but equally.
right. I think that's a great one, especially empathy as opposed to something like pity or sympathy, which tends to be a bit more shallow and a bit less conscious, I think. My first word was not empathy, though I think that's an amazing one. It was intersectional, mostly because I think it's such a buzzword in the feminist movement of today. And I really want to see if there's a way in which we can utilize it with the understanding of its deep roots. Who is Kimberly Crenshaw? Why was that word written? What does it teach us about the type of imagination of social justice movement? So I want to use the word, but also use it more deeply with more kind of historical understanding.
When I checked into this women's movement, we called it intertwining. That
Mm.
is, race and gender were intertwined, and there was no way you could address one without also addressing the other.
I hope that there's a day in which we don't have to ask what the word means because it's kind of been distributed through culture. Even, growing up, I remember being a girl and telling people, I'm a feminist, and people even having questions about that and being unsure. And that's a word that, as a feminist myself, I'm like, how do you have questions about, the equality between women and men in this word? But I think letting words enter our rhetoric of change and letting them stay there is one of the ways in which we, press forward.
Words evolve, that's part of the fun, that they acquire meaning, are given meaning, are invented.
My second word is sustainable, mostly because I want to start thinking of solutions that can have a long time horizon and that kind of extend beyond the immediacy, and being able to work as an activist where I'm thinking of solutions that can last as well as work. And so I'm using it not only to think, as you said, about the planet and the environment, but how am I sustaining and taking care of myself?
I'm learning already, okay?
What was your second word?
Kindness.
Mm,
Because somehow I think that that's the most, it's so important. The idea that you probably want to treat others as you wish to be treated. Um, it's, to me, kind of the opposite of hierarchy, certainly the opposite of cruelty, obviously.
kindness is one of those words that it's so beautiful to me because from a young age, it's a word that many of us know quite soon and rapidly once we become human beings, and it's something that we all know the meaning of, even if we don't have the Merriam-Webster definition like memorized. We all know what kindness feels like when it's felt. Well, my third word was proactive, mostly because I was thinking about movements. And I think sometimes it's compelling to be focused, I think, on kind of resistance, meaning going against something that exists, whether it be an institution or a way of thinking that is damaging. But I want to challenge myself to think past that, where I'm not just reacting to policies, but I'm thinking about how do we create new ones. I'm not just reacting to institutions. I'm thinking about how can I proactively create and imagine new ones. And so that's kind of the big dare I'm giving myself for this year.
Active is in the moment, but proactive is even before the moment.
Right, right.
My next one is person,
Mm,
because I think the one thing, since we can't control what happens, but we can use what happens, I'm hoping that this year of COVID has taught us that we're all persons, we're all people, to get rid of adjectives. Now we've realized that our health depends on the health of everybody else. No one is diminished, no one is less than.
it's, so fascinating that you mentioned that because, as you famously say, we can't necessarily control everything that happens, but we can use it. And taking a moment, which, can be so dark and grievous, and using it as an opportunity to humanize everybody, as an opportunity to look at everyone as a person, which they are. And I really appreciate that. My fourth word, which I chose, imagine. And I remember you saying once that dreaming is its own form of planning. I want to continue to plan by way of courageous and compassionate imagination, to really dare and challenge myself to think bigger than I ever thought possible, especially as you just mentioned, because we're entering, a new world of what it means to, have endured COVID, what there lie, the opportunities to think all the larger with all kind of a broader scope of what can be possible. My fifth one was just love. I don't think there's a more beautiful word than that. It's, one of the most important things on this earth and this planet, I would say. And I think it's a word that I have not used enough this year in the wake of COVID because, my love has been challenged by fear, by worry, anxiety, disease. And I really want to give it a reclaimed space in my own dictionary, where every day I'm reminding myself of what I love and who loves me. Love too often being a one-way street for a woman. It reminds me, that self-love also matters, particularly as a woman. And so that's something that I'm learning as well.
Well, so my last two are Spaceship Earth.
Ooh.
Because if we are Spaceship Earth, it tells us that we are all a community here on Spaceship Earth, spinning through space. To me, it brings us together in a fragile way, which is important, but in a loving, mutual way.
Well, I love that you mentioned Spaceship Earth and this idea that we're all, members of the same place and same body, which we are, and that we're all connected. And it's actually interesting that you mentioned that because I have a poem called Earthrise, which actually ends on that same note, where I imagine us as all belonging to the spaceship. The last verse of it goes, imagine we're all in the same spacecraft, floating like a silver raft, and we see the face of our planet anew. We relish the view. We witness its round green and brilliant blue, which inspires us to ask deeply, wholly, what can we do? Know that the future of this wise planet lies right in sight, right in all of us. Trust this earth uprising, all of us bringing light to exciting solutions never tried before. For it is our hope at our uncompromising core that keeps us rising up for an earth more than worth fighting for.
Beautiful. I feel completely satisfied, except I can't hug you.
Same. What I'm going to do instead is I'm giving you an air hug. Oh, so tight, I can feel it. You have strong arms.